Hey guys, it's your girl Lisa with Real Movie Lovers, back this week for another new topic. And normally things are light and fun around here, and I enjoy myself and we cover interesting topics and movie stuff. But today's subject's a little bit more heavier, especially on my heart. And you know what? You and I might not even agree. Shall we get into it? AI isn't Hollywood's first script doctor, but it may be its last. Film is a collaborative effort, and for the most part, we know this, especially on the surface. But I feel like it's even more so than most people realize. And it's kind of designed that way. Like your favorite auteurs, which is another way of saying filmmakers whose personal aesthetics and style are so strong that it's basically their movie and how they do things. Like Steven Spielberg. Wes Anderson.
Zero, you say?
Yes, sir.
Well, I've never heard of you, never laid eyes on you. Who hired you?
Mr. Mosher, sir.
Mr. Mosher?
Yes, Monsieur Gustave.
We all know what a Wes Anderson film looks like. But even they need teams. They require input. There is no Lone Ranger, Lone Wolf scenario. It's always been that way. And with Hollywood, they've always found a way to get what they could. And when I say Hollywood, I'm speaking more so the people in charge, the studios and the like, the executives and whatnot. And they've always found a way to kind of get as much talent squeezed out with paying as little as possible. And they've always walked a fine line of not giving credit where it's due. Like, for instance, in 1953, Roman Holiday, this romantic comedy about a princess who falls for an American and stars Gregory Peck and Audrey Hepburn, it won an Oscar. And the writer who collected it was Ian McKellen. I'm sorry, Ian McKellen. Oh my gosh, not Ian McKellen. Ian McLellan. Oh my gosh, I'm butchering this name. Sorry. But the person who actually wrote it was Dalton Trumbo. And he was blacklisted. He wasn't credited at all. And it wasn't until years later, that Hollywood bothered to even fix it. So if you go to like IMDb now, his name is there. It's fixed it. The Academy fixed it. But it was a long time. And he is not the only case that this happened to. In 1939, The Wizard of Oz had the director Victor Fleming's name on it, but he was assisted by two other directors, George Cukor and King Vidor, who they helped with the tone, they helped with the aesthetics, and they didn't get any credit. Again, I think now their names are there, but at the time they were dismissed, they were just not even seen. And it was kind of part of how things are done. During the McCarthy era, like in the 1940s and 50s, when people were concerned about communism and, everything going on with that, you had a lot of creatives and writers and people getting blacklisted, getting their careers getting gutted or destroyed. And there were quite a few productions that went under pseudonyms. Or they got scripts from writers who were blacklisted who couldn't even put their name on the projects because of what was going on during that time. Everyone knew, but it was still about working the system. And you wanted to be able to have plausible deniability in case things went left. It was a lot of political repression going on at that time. So not a fun time for the creative side. Even with Poltergeist, I think it was directed by Tobe Hooper, but really a lot of the work that was put into it, the look, the design was Steven Spielberg. But again, behind every auteur, every singular person, there are writers, there's editors, there's fixers, consultants. There's a whole team that helped to make the magic of the film. it is Hollywood that has kind of really honed in on that single voice, that single genius, because that probably it sells better. It sells better, you know? And that's not to say that there aren't directors who are as involved as they want to be in everything. Like, I think Christopher Nolan's one of those directors who's involved in every aspect. He really does work hard to put a stamp on things, which he does. But he also still needs a team of people to help and enlist and make that happen. And now there is this shift that's happening, that writers, producers, and directors are saying that they're seeing right now, in the movie business. And we know it's AI. Now, I don't know if you're new here, maybe you don't know, but for those who have been returning viewers, I have expressed my hesitation towards AI and welcoming it with warm arms. I legitimately think that it is a tool that we are abusing. I think it's a good tool. Okay. I think it's a tool that's easily abusable. I'll put it that way. And that's not to say that I don't use it or haven't, benefited from it. We all have. It's just, I feel like there's something that we're trading off for every time. And I'll get more into that, what I mean by that in a second. So AI is the new ghostwriter, the new blacklisted screenwriter. So there's always been ghostwriters. There's always been blacklisted screenwriters and uncredited individuals involved in production. And now it may seem that even that may not be something that they can hold on to, because now AI has entered the chat. And with AI, there's no need for breaks. There's no need for sleep, for credit, nothing. You just hit some, put in whatever you need for it, and it will generate log lines. It'll generate beat sheets, everything. So for the writers and the producers and the directors in the United States and the United Kingdom, they are literally seeing themselves being handed machine-generated first drafts, pitches, character breakdowns, and they're being asked to, develop it. One showrunner with multiple global hits under their belts was literally given a script that was generated by ChatGPT, and they were asked to kind of rewrite the pilot, but without credit. And then another designer was asked to kind of, build a visual identities, aesthetic for like a high budget science fiction show that was pretty much generated by AI, like the images, the visuals, and everything. Her job wasn't to create these, it was to refine them. There's a line in the article that really stuck out for me. The conceptual authorship had already been stripped and anonymized by an algorithm. More and more and more, we are removing humans from the equation. And for what? Well, the usual suspects. Money. Because if I don't have to credit you, then I don't have to pay you. I don't have to worry about residuals for you. I can cut the costs. I don't have to pay you as much or at all, especially for residuals. And that's more money in my pocket. So the designer is reduced to being a prompt operator. The writer just helped out. And then streaming platforms have only accelerated this, and maybe on purpose, because they don't even really like to show opening credits. They don't like to show closing credits. And for some people, especially if you're binging, you're like, yeah, I want to skip too, especially if you've already seen them. I don't need to see the credits for every episode. I understand, but it may not be there for much longer. The long list of credits that you see of all people who put their hands in these projects might be scaled down to 10. And again, with AI, they don't have to worry about AI trying to lobby for credit. Or if they decide to use the work for however they want to use it, AI is not going to speak up and say, that's not what I intended. AI does not create, it emulates. And removing the human element, we are losing something. One task, one job at a time. And I'm not just talking about the movie business. Look at the quality of our everyday products. Food, electronics, at this point, cars. There's cutting corners, cutting costs, removing the human element. The less we have our hands in something, the more auto it is, the more garbage it is, in my opinion. I've been hearing so much about these new vehicles that don't drive well, or they shut down, or they don't last as long as some of the older vehicles. And part of that is the technology that they've put in the cars. So some of the technology is cool, and some of it, I'm like, you don't need that when you're driving, but do what you do. And I don't want to blame it all on just them putting more technology in. I think it's also the materials that they're using now, they're just certain things. Like the amount of recalls that I always see with new vehicles now, it's crazy. I mean, I guess there was always like a level of, hey, these are new, a couple bucks, they have, kinks they have to work out. But it just seems that it's been exasperated. So I know that for some people, the idea of writers and artists and that kind of those kind of fields, they're like, oh, who cares, right? If an AI can do it, who cares? Well, when you remove the human element, you remove that creative factor. And I'm literally telling you, like, yes, a person can have the idea and plug in the prompt and have AI like put together a lot of the stuff, but there is still character, experience, and nuance that come from the people working on the project, the people who are involved. That AI isn't built that way. And it's the soul of the thing. It's the soul of what of it that you're losing as well. And think about the quality of movies today. I think we can all agree that they don't seem to be as hitting as they used to be. But there also used to be a lot of different more elements involved that aren't there anymore. For one, the balance between filmmaker and the studio, which it's always been like a double dutch situation where you want to make sure that there's not too much studio interference or too much liberties with the director, finding that balance. And I think that's been kind of affected. Studios aren't willing to take certain chances with things. They have kind of been heavy-handed in editing and redirecting, and I would say simplifying stories and affecting the creative process in some of the instances. And again, it's not all on them. It's not the only reason, but I'm mentioning one factor. And the reason why I'm saying that is think about that, and then think about if they are going to be removing the little elements that make things special, like more writers and designers and, editors like that. It's going to be more just soulless. And Jaws is another example I want to pull out with Steven Spielberg. And this is just like a small little notation, is the fact that like it's infamous. The Jaws shark didn't work right. So what was the plan? The plan was to hide the shark as much as possible, and that ended up making the movie what it made it. I don't think it would have been a classic if we'd been able to see the shark so clearly the whole time. I think the way they did it helped with the dread. It helped to build suspense. It created a whole new way of inciting dread with this. And that was a wonderful mistake. And I think the less human interaction we have, the less wonderful mistakes we'll get. I know it sounds weird, but there's just something that each person brings with them, even in their writing, even in their filming, the way they see the world. And if we start just kind of winding it down to a singular view, if we rely too much on technology, I just don't know if there's going to be a good end to it. And I know that I sound like I'm being a downer, and I'm sorry, and maybe I'm rubbing some of you guys the wrong way, especially those who enjoy AI and think there's nothing wrong with writing prompts. It's not about gatekeeping writing or directing or filming or any of these things, designing or being an artist. If that's what you want to do, I say go for it. Go for it. There's something about you being involved in the process, you putting yourself in the process, typing up a prompt and having AI write a story for you versus you sitting down and doing it yourself. There's just so much more personally when you yourself are pushing through, when you're pulling out from you what's inside of you. I know that for some of you, creativity doesn't seem to be as important, as some of the other positions and industries, but it's important in its own way. It's important for us to use our creativity, our imagination, for us to be not only entertained, but enlightened, to be challenged, and to be supported. So let's support. I'm getting off track. This video is getting hecka long, so I think I'm going to end it here. But I could probably go on for longer. I won't. Trust me, I won't. Maybe I'm going to do a separate video for my Patreon. Anyway, thank you guys for checking out my video. I appreciate you guys for taking the time to listen to me go on and on and on about AI. I don't really want to be, one of those talking heads that just complains about AI all the time. I try not to do that. And normally I don't. I know this is a bit of a downer, heavier subject, but most of my other videos are more lighter and fun, I promise. So if you enjoyed yourself, kind of, please hit that like button. And if you're feeling my channel, hit that subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can always be updated on what's going on. I want to give a huge shout out to my top tier Patreon members, Bonker and Thelma. Thank you guys so much. You're the best. And if you guys are looking to join my community, feel free to check out my Patreon, NXG Global Productions. And hit me up on Instagram and TikTok. Links are in the description. Check you guys in the next video, which will be funner. I promise.